skills to necessarily accelerate your income. The best way to accelerate your income is not to get a better job or a second job or to get a raise on your current job. The best way to accelerate your income is to know how to have side hustles and or to have systems that make money. So, for example,
advanced degrees.
oh,
So the biggest liability.
let me turn this off. So for example, one of the things that I saw when I became an entrepreneur that I never saw when it came to working for somebody else is I would see, people making insane amounts of money, like someone that doesn't even have, a college degree making, some insane, making, I don't know, $100,000 a month. There are a lot of entrepreneurs that don't have a lot of education that are making $100,000 a month. And it's really because they found a product, they found somebody that wanted to buy it, and they built their market base and they sold based on the system. So one good example, actually, and this really, I think, sort of provides a counter narrative to what educated people like me might provide. Like we always talk about going to school and getting these credentials and degrees, which it has its value, on its own for sure. But there's this lady named Supercent. And if you've ever seen Supercent, honestly, some people say she's a little ghetto. She's a real, she doesn't come off, she's not a bougie, educated type person, but she sells makeup and she's in an industry where the money is, right? One of the biggest ways to make money is to be where the money is. So because she's connected to her base and she knows how to give them a quality product, she makes, she does launches and she'll make $1 million in a couple hours. So I encourage you, really my mandate, the thing I'm asking everybody to consider is if you have children, teach your children how to, or put them in a place where they can learn how to start a business so they can have an opportunity to possibly get that big lottery ticket where they find a system or they find a product that everybody wants. And then they're able to properly package it and sell it. And then if they buy low, sell high, they buy it for $10, they sell it for $25. Next thing you know, they're making, $1 million a year. I've seen 10-year-olds do that. So anyway, let me keep going. In fact, the highest paid people on YouTube are actually under the age of 10. Am I still working on the investment group? Yes, I am. We are working on that. We just have so many things we're doing. We try not to launch too many things at once. And that's one of the things I want to get a better grip on in 2021. But we just have so many great things we want to do. Like we're going to do the Black Wealth Bootcamp. Right now we're doing the Powernomics Masterclass. We've got some stuff going on with real estate. We've got some stuff going on with money and relationships. We have a lot of things happening in the Black Business School. We just don't want to overdo it. So that's why we haven't. If we can't do it right, we don't want to do it. So just know when we launch something, it's really ready. How much does it cost? Most of our programs are about $89 a month, and a lot of times we'll give you a $1 trial or something like that, or the first month free. And also there's a money back guarantee for 30 days if you're not happy for any reason. So basically our guarantee is that if you don't feel that this class is better than any class you've ever taken in college, even though college charges a lot more, they'll charge you $10,000 per class, things like that. If you don't feel like we're better than that, then let us know and we'll give you your money back. If you have any questions or any issues with anything you're enrolled in the Black Business School, just email support@theblackbusinessschool.com. That's support@theblackbusinessschool.com. I heard you have classes for children. How do I get more information about that? Go to blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. That's our business school for children. That's blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. I'm really proud of that because basically the idea to create the Black Millionaires of Tomorrow program is because I became really obsessed with the Black wealth problem. And I said, how can we as Black people by ourselves without anybody's help solve the racial wealth gap? And what I've learned as a finance PhD, as an economics expert, is that money tends to flow toward people who are financially intelligent and financially literate and financially prepared. That's just it. I mean, it's really true. It comes down to what you know. When people get victimized financially, a lot of times it's because of what they call information asymmetry. It's like if I'm playing basketball against you and I play basketball every day and I was trained by Michael Jordan, we can start off 0-0, but eventually I'm gonna have all the points, right? And so if you want somebody to be able to compete, you got to train them at basketball. So my belief is that our children who have tremendous potential in sports, hip hop, everything else, I believe they should be equally obsessed with economics and just business and the basics of business. And it's very easy to point out exactly the specific things the child needs to know that will put them light years ahead of everybody else. It comes down to the 3 pillars of wealth. The 3 pillars of wealth are entrepreneurship, real estate, and stock market investing. So we created programs around each of those things that will literally focus on the things that an adult millionaire might understand that we would like for our children to understand at the age of 8, 9, 10, 12 years old. And what that does is that puts your child way ahead of the curve, ahead of everybody else. So that by the time they hit adulthood, they've got 1,000 different options and tools and weapons they can use to deal with their economic situation. They're not stuck. I talked to a young guy in Chicago once. And I remember he said that he was about 24. And he said, a lot of us guys, we listen to you, Dr. Boyce, because we don't know how to make money. So we do crazy things to get money, and it gets us in trouble. And I said, yeah, because you don't have a big toolkit. You need to learn all the different ways to make money. So basically, that's what I encourage you to do. Give your children lots of options, lots of escape routes. Options are the same as freedom. On a theoretical basis, if you look up what it means to have an option, when we study option pricing theory and option theory in finance, first thing you learn about options is that you're never worse off when you have options. So the question you must ask yourself is, if you're just teaching your child to go to school and get a good job, are you giving them all the options they deserve, or are you giving them just one option? And anybody who's ever played the sport knows you can't win championships if you've only got one move. If you only got one play you can make. So anyway, let me keep going. So go to blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com if you'd like to take a look. That's blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. Our team will work with you. We have specialists right there on the website that you can talk to. You can ask some questions, and they will cut you deals. They will work with you based on your budget. We work on the honor system in the Black Business School, where we say, look, if your money's tight, let us know. Let us know how we can help you. But if your money's not tight, we'd love for you to also support this, because we're educating hundreds of thousands of people across the world. And because we believe Black people should own our own universities, and we're legitimate. We got real PhDs and lawyers and experts and all that stuff. What are my thoughts on option trading? I think option trading is absolutely next level powerful for your investing. I love options trading. Options that was not my specialty when I got my PhD, but I learned a lot about options. I learned a lot on a practical and theoretical and empirical basis. I learned a lot about options, enough where, it's like if you go to medical school and you become a heart surgeon and somebody says, well, can you also, work on a kidney? Well, initially you might say, well, I'm not a kidney specialist, but if you go and you study and you read some books on it, you can learn it really fast because you already know all this other stuff, all this background stuff, right? So with options, I dug into it and I started really digging into the things I learned about option theory. And what I love about options is options give you the ability to it's almost like adding seasoning to your food, right? So your stocks are like the chicken, right? So the chicken keeps you fed, but a chicken with no seasoning isn't that great, right? But when you cook it right and you add the right seasoning, it becomes a wonderful chicken, right? But you can't just make the whole meal just from the seasoning. You need the chicken, and you can't just have the chicken. You need the seasoning. So options are just a wonderful seasoning that allows you to shape the risk of your portfolio. So if you want more risk, options can give you that. If you want less risk, options can protect you from risk. You can use options to give you insurance. If you own a stock and you're making a bunch of money and you're worried that it might drop, but you don't want to sell it, well, options help you protect against the downside. Or if you see a stock and you say, gosh, I really believe this stock is going to do well, I want to make money when the stock goes up, but you don't have a lot of cash, well, options allow you to get what they call leverage, which allows you to put a little bit of money in and to be able to connect your economic situation with this particular company. Options also have that other side where options are bought and sold. I make the bulk of my income from selling options on the stock that I have. I don't sell the stock I have very often, but I will write options. And that's literally how I pay all the bills in the house. Because you can actually make a ton of money that way. And a lot of people don't know that basically, if you go back to that basic idea of wealth building and making money, buy low, sell high. When something's overpriced, that's an opportunity. When something's underpriced, that's an opportunity. It's really a matter of figuring out what you're seeing and getting on the right side of the transaction. So if I see a stock that's underpriced, I want to buy it. I want to own. But if I see something that's overpriced, I don't want to own it. I want to sell it, right? And the beauty of financial markets is that, you can do interesting things. Like you don't have to actually own something in order to sell it. You can sell it first and buy it back later. right? I encourage you to consider looking into options. We do have an options masterclass. If you want to go check that out, you can go to, I did a whole masterclass on it, and the recordings are available in the Black Business School. If you go to theblackbusinessschool.com, theblackbusinessschool.com, and just ask them for the options masterclass, and you can check out the curriculum. It doesn't cost that much, and it makes a big difference. And like I said, everything has a money back guarantee, so you won't be unhappy. If you're unhappy, then you should tell us, and we'll give you a full refund. Okay, so next question. I've not heard about you talk about Black collective financial action, being able to aggregate our small resources like other ethnic groups. Actually, Laurent, I talk about that a lot. This week, in fact, we're going to do, we're starting the Powernomics Masterclass. And that's with Dr. Claude Anderson. And all Powernomics is all about is ways that we can engage in what Dr. Anderson refers to as ethno-aggregation. Ethno-aggregation. I'm trying to say it right because I got just for full disclosure, I had some dental work done, and because I had to reshape my bite, they're literally stretching my bite out and stretching the bone. So that's why it looks like I'm talking in a weird way, because I'm trying to actually learn how to have my mouth back where it's supposed to be if I had taken care of my teeth the way I'm supposed to. So that's why I sound funny. So please don't make fun of me. Just congratulate me for being a Black man who's trying to do better. But Dr. Anderson, basically, all he talks about is collective action. And collective action is very important because here's the thing. Here's a little secret. Here's a little secret about Black wealth. The thing about Black wealth is that Black people actually have almost everything that we need in order to be wealthy. The biggest, most well-kept secret about Black people, and only empowered Black people kind of are even open to this idea, right? We're consistently bombarded with messages that say that we can't do anything without white people. I don't believe that. And I've sat around and thought about it and said, because I had to start with myself, I had to say, okay, what can I as a Black man do without waiting for someone to give me an opportunity? It always felt really unempowering, for me to say, gosh, I wish somebody would give me a gosh darn opportunity. If they would just give me an opportunity, I can show them, right? And that almost made me feel like I was praying to white people like they were my gods. And it's very weird as a man to feel that way. Like, wait a minute, you're a man just like I am. You put your pants on one leg at a time, just like me. So why do I somehow commit myself to being subordinated to you? Why is it that I have been shaped to believe that the only way I can do well is if you give me permission? That right there is a very flawed way of seeing anything. And so I let that go. I thought about it. I said, wait a minute, I'm smarter than 99.9% of all the white people I've ever met. Not just because I said it, but on paper. I had more education by the age of 25 than most of them had their whole life. I was teaching college students when I was 22 years old. I'm not kidding. I'm not making this up. So I said, I think I can do this, and I don't think I need to wait for somebody's help. And then what happens, though, is you can extrapolate that. You can expand that. Remember, Black people are special people. We are the original man. We are the original woman. No other group of people has survived what we survived. No other group of people has survived the slave dungeons, survived the Middle Passage. No other group of people has survived 250 years of the most brutal slavery known to man. No other group of people has survived Jim Crow. No other group of people has survived mass incarceration the way we have. Nobody survived a 400-year Holocaust like we've gone through. So we're extraordinary, exceptional people in a lot of ways. So with that said, if you go back to this basic idea that we can do things on our own, the question is, what do you have to work with? And also, what assumptions have you been making that have led you to feel that you can't do things on your own? And how do you sort of challenge those assumptions and figure out how to make new assumptions that are a little bit more empowering? So here's some assumptions that I want to leave you with to help you kind of understand the power of Blackness and how much we can do on our own. First of all, if you take the $1.3 trillion a year that we get every year that we spend, on whatever we spend our money on, that amount of money, if we were a country, we'd be one of the wealthiest countries on the planet. One of the benefits of being right next to white people is that white people have all the money, and some of that trickles down to us. Not much of it, but a little bit of it. So we're kind of like the poorest kid in the richest neighborhood. That's what it is, right? We're like the kid who lives, maybe because the kid lives next door to millionaires and billionaires, he thinks he's poor when really his parents made $5 million last year. So he's not really poor. He just doesn't have as much money as the other kids. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, just mathematically speaking, if you redirected just say 10% more of that 1.3 trillion back into the Black community, just by supporting Black businesses, just buying Black, just the coolest thing in the world, the most important thing in the world to do, make it almost like a religion to buy Black and support Black. Well, that's $130 billion a year coming right into the community, $130 billion a year. The other thing about money coming back into the community is that money multiplies. Money has a natural multiplicative effect, almost like bunny rabbits fertilizing each other. Money creates more money. When they say you need money to make money, well, if you have money and you know what to do with money, you can take money and turn it into more money. Like I've already stated that if any politician came to me and said, "Hey, Dr. Boyce, I'm willing to put $1 billion into the Black community," I could turn that $1 billion into $10 billion worth of results in about 5 years, very easily. It would be very easy to do. I know exactly what to do with that, right? So $130 billion coming back into the community, spent with Black businesses who are also committed to spending with Black businesses, means that there's what in economics, we call this the multiplier effect. So what happens is John spends money with Joe. Joe takes the dollar, he gives it to Karen, or not Karen, that's the white lady's name, right? He gives it to Teresa, right? Teresa spends money with Latanja, right? And then Latanja spends money with Jack, right? So that $1 isn't $1. It becomes $1, $2, $3, $4, right? So that 130 billion isn't just 130 billion, it's 130 billion times 4, or however many times you can circulate that dollar in your community. So that's $500 billion in Black wealth created like that. So think about that. $520 billion. That's enough money to create dozens, if not hundreds of billionaires, thousands of millionaires, right? And a much stronger economic standing in the community. So Black people have a lot of what we already need. When I talk about the financial wealth, that's actually the smallest type of wealth Black people have. Most of our wealth is actually in what I call unutilized human capital. And what do I mean by that? Well, think about this. Think about how many Black people you know who have, college degrees, master's degrees, advanced degrees, JDs, MDs, PhDs, BAs, BSs, credentials, certifications. Like we will educate the hell out of ourselves, and we pay billions of dollars to white people every year to give us an education. I personally think we can do it ourselves. But again, because we're invested in the system, we tend to think that that's the way to go, right? So there are lots of Black people who have a tremendous amount of skill. Whenever we're looking to hire a contractor, a lot of times I'll send out an email and I'll say, we're looking for somebody who knows how to do graphic design, who can design a marketing campaign. Within one day, I'll have 100 resumes, 100 emails in my inbox of people who are qualified to do that job. That has value. Your education has value. Your training has an economic price tag that can be attached to that. It's not just something that you did to make yourself feel good. That's what they call human capital. That's why white people pay you billions of dollars a year to come work for them, because they see the value in your training and your skill and your time and your work ethic. And then there's even more underutilized and completely unutilized human capital. When you go down the street, I was running down the street with Alicia, and I was in Atlanta, and we were running through West Atlanta to go to my grandmother's grave. My grandmother was the first person. Her name's Felicia. I named our Panther for the Black Business School after my grandmother. So my grandmother is behind my head right now, if you're watching on through Zoom. And anyway, so we were going to my grandmother's grave, and and as I'm running through West Atlanta, I'm seeing all these Black men just standing around doing nothing. So many Black men just doing nothing, and the thing is that's underutilized and unutilized human capital. A lot of those men and women that are not working, that have no, that are maybe incarcerated, that may be, formally incarcerated, and maybe just marginalized from society. That's a multi-trillion-dollar asset right there in your community. So if we were to round individuals up like that, or catch them before they get marginalized by the system, or help them have another move, another option. Like, okay, the white man ain't hiring, but that doesn't mean you sit on the corner. You're still skilled. You still have value. Even if white people don't want to hire you, you're still worthy. You can still do something. You can still pitch in, right? You can still be of value to somebody, starting with yourself. I think just shifting that, what that does is that creates another multi-trillion-dollar influx into the community. So I'm gonna just tell you the honest to God truth. I don't know how this is gonna sound, but if I had a choice, if somebody said, "Hey, Doc, you got two options. Either white people are gonna write a $3 trillion check for the Black community. They're gonna do a $3 trillion stimulus package and send out checks to Black people and pay reparations to the tune of $3 trillion, not the whole 14 trillion, but $3 trillion." Right. But Black people are going to keep their existing economic habits with that money. Or option B is we're going to give you $500 million to train Black people on what to do with the money that they receive. That we're going to give you the ability, the authority to train 40 million people on how economics works, what to do with money, how to grow money, how to make wealth happen. Which do you choose? I would choose option B. Because the thing about money and wealth, this is really important for you to understand. I know this. Again, I've been a financial professor for a very long time. Don't underestimate the power of knowledge and understanding and how to play the game. People who just know how to play the game, if you're rich and you don't know how to play the game, and you sit down with somebody who's broke, who knows the game inside out, upside down, and backward, one day you'll just look up and that person will magically have all your money. Like, seriously, I saw this one time, just to give you an example. I happen to be a fan of the game poker. I like poker because it's a great game of strategy, math, and psychology. I don't like gambling because I like to hold my money, keep my money, but I like poker because I like the strategy of it all. One time I went on a cruise ship. I'm not kidding, true story. And there was this lady who was clearly rich. She was loaded. She had now somebody said no volume. Give me a yes in the chat if you can hear me. I hope you guys can hear me okay. Give me a yes if you can hear me okay. No if you can't hear me. Okay. Somebody said no volume. Give me a yes. Okay, Trenton. Okay, yeah. So it looks like most of you can hear me. Okay. So we're on this cruise ship, right? And this lady, she's from Australia or something, and she had just got married. You could tell she was rich. She had a diamond ring on that was really big and was just kind of sitting there, and she was playing poker. She was half drunk, and she wasn't really fully aware of what was going on. And she was just throwing money out there. And she lose $300 and she just laugh it off and that was so silly, right? And it was clear she didn't know how to play poker, right? Like I'm pretty good. Like, in fact, on that same cruise ship, they had a big tournament with 100 people in it, and I got first place in the tournament out of 100 people. Like, but I was watching at this point. I wasn't actually playing. And I was looking at the dynamics. When you play the game, you watch everybody. You're observing. You're taking in information. So I was watching this lady who's drunk, who's sitting there with the big gaudy ring, throwing money everywhere, who doesn't know how to play the game. And then there's another guy who looked like maybe right out of college. He didn't look like he had a lot of money. And he was just sitting there. He was very serious. He was real quiet, real serious. And I watched his moves, and I said, this guy knows how to play. He knows how to play the game. He's very good. He's very smart. And the whole time, I'm watching one white guy, and as I'm watching the white guy watch the white woman, right? I'm watching both of them, and she's not watching anything because she's drunk. He's watching her because he's basically saying in his head, I could tell he's saying, I'm going to wait for her to mess up so I can take all of her money. And by the end of the night, this guy had taken probably $3,000 out of this lady's pocket because she wasn't aware and she didn't know how to play the game, right? So, so what I'm saying to you is that you really don't want to underestimate the importance of knowing how to play the game. So part of the reason that we have children's programs in the Black Business School is because we want our kids to know how to play the game. It's not a complicated game if you're introduced at an early age. Instead, we learn how to play games that don't benefit us. Like, it doesn't, you probably won't be a professional basketball player. Your child probably won't be in the NFL. But even if they are in the NFL, still knowing how to play the economic game will serve them well for the rest of their life. I hope that makes sense. Okay, let's keep going. Oh, and the kids program is blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. Feel free to go check it out. It's blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. Let's see here. Anthony says, do you think the stock market will continue its historic rise if Biden wins? Yeah, I think it will. And the reason, and this is why I'm not so caught up in who wins the election, to be honest with you. If the thing about the wealthy people, the wealthy, is that they always take care of themselves no matter who's in the White House. They just do. So I believe that if Biden gets elected, what's going to happen is the Democrats are going to pass the biggest, funkiest stimulus package you've ever seen. It'll be $1 trillion, and they're going to flood all this money into the market. And again, because you've got people that are positioned to receive that money, and it's really sad because the money goes to corporations that don't need it. It goes to investors in the stock market like you and I, who are sitting around just, like I never wanted to tie my economic fate to the people in the back of the bus. I tied my fate to the people in the front of the bus. I always said, okay, I want to be rich. I want to see what rich people are investing in. I want to invest where they're investing. Literally, I used to do that. They actually have on Stash, they actually have an option where you can literally follow the trading strategies of like billionaires. Like seriously. So the money is going to go to the people who don't need it the most. It's going to increase the wealth gap. It's very, very sad. But the good thing though about the Democrats though is they are going to do what they can. They're going to do more than the Republicans to get the money to the street. But I think long term you need a functioning economy. And that's going to come when there's a vaccine. When there's a vaccine, the economy is going to open right up. All this stuff is going to be over. They won't be talking about the virus much probably in the year 2021 because their focus will be on getting you to look forward and not look backward. So I think if the Democrats get elected, what's going to happen is you're not going to see necessarily a dip. You're going to see a shift. Just like with COVID, you saw a dip temporarily, but then you saw a rally. But the rally was not even. It was uneven because the economy just shifted. It was like shifting water from the bathtub to the sink. The water's still there. It's just in a different place. So the companies that were making money pre-COVID, maybe some of them weren't making money anymore, right? If you're talking about, I don't know, AMC Theaters maybe was a great investment in 2019. It was not a great investment in 2020 because all the movie theaters were closed, right? But Zoom became a superstar. Tesla was a superstar. Apple was a superstar, right? So people that make money, what they tend to do is they don't tend to sort of say, oh God, this is over. America's not going to be rich no more. Ain't going to be no money around here no more. No, investors are like, okay, the money's not there, but it's got to be somewhere because money is usually not created or destroyed all the time. So, although you could debate that, but it just changes forms and it changes hands. Where's the money at? I'm going to go where the money's at. So teach your kids how to go where the money's at, and that's going to make a big difference. Now, somebody asked about the URL for the kids program. Type it in, somebody for me. It's blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. Blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. Okay, Dara says, I started the cryptocurrency course and read about Jarvis. Is there some recommendations or ways to get recommendations for coins? You know what, Dara? We're not really digging as deep into the crypto stuff as we did before. The reason was because even though I warned from the rooftops 10,000 times that this market could crash, and I mentioned my concerns about the market. I was almost like Dr. Fauci when it came to crypto. I was like, okay, the money's good. Go get your money, but be careful, be careful, be careful. Even though I did that 1,000 times, there were still some people that were really upset when the market crashed. And it bothered me because I already had concerns about talking that much about crypto during the craze because it's not a good market. It's not a well-functioning market from the standards that we would use in academia to determine a good market versus a bad one. Like a good market has things like information symmetry, where everybody has similar information. Very few people have inside information that they can legally trade on. The crypto market's not like that. There's information imbalance everywhere. Just liquidity issues, issues in terms of volatility. There were people that manipulate crypto markets, in a significant way. So it's just not a good market. Now, I like crypto from a long-term investor diversification standpoint. So the crypto I own, I just bought it. I sit on it. I'm waiting. I'm sitting on the egg waiting for it to hatch. I'm hoping maybe one day when the world changes, some of the coins I own are going to shoot up in value, but that hasn't yet been proven to be as sturdy and as stable of an investment as some of the things that you can grab onto in the stock market or in real estate, some of the tried and true things. So that's the thing about crypto. That's why you don't hear me talking about it as much, because I'm intrigued by it, but I'm also not one to believe you should put more than 5% of your portfolio in crypto. Let's see. Sarah says, what courses are best for multifamily real estate in other states from scratch? We do have a multifamily if you go to, I think it's theblackreigroup.com, theblackreigroup.com. That's the program that's taught by Julian Gordon. Julian is the brother that is our real estate dean in the Black Business School. And I think that his discount is still up there, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it looks like it's still up there. So if you want to try it, feel free. He has really great reviews. A lot of people love it. So feel free to go to theblackreigroup.com, theblackreigroup.com. And they're doing something really good too. They're actually buying a big chunk of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, to the tune of several $1 million. They've actually gotten some Black investors together, and they are buying tons of multifamily property in Baton Rouge. I like multifamily property a lot. One thing I'll also say is I think it's worth looking into the whole writing of call options. Those of you who took the options masterclass, we talked about that extensively. I think that actually generates a better ROI than almost anything, in almost any area. The amount of return on investment you can get from writing call options is actually pretty good. And we have an options class. So if you go to theblackbusinessschool.com, you can actually find it there, or talk to one of our specialists. They can direct you to it. Theblackbusinessschool.com. Courtney, do you like the stock market will open on a higher or low? Do I think it's going to open on a higher or low? I don't know. We can look at the futures market. Let's see. Let me go check out CNBC. By the way, I don't know if you guys know that the Dallas Cowboys are the most valuable sports franchise on earth. Not that that matters for this conversation, but we were just talking about Dak Prescott, the quarterback for the Cowboys, who just got injured after he turned down a $150 million deal. And yeah, the Cowboys are worth $5.5 billion. Jerry Jones bought the Cowboys for $150 million in 1989. So he bought them for $150 million. They're now worth $5.5 billion. The Chicago Bears were purchased for, they're worth $3 billion, and they were purchased for $500. But now the Bears are the 13th most valuable franchise in the world, worth $3.45 billion. Sorry, I said they were purchased for $500. Actually, they were purchased in 1920 for $100. So if you want to know where wealth comes from, it's from things like that. It's from power moves like that. It's from long-term vision. One of the things that we talk about in class that wealth builders have, that I encourage you to have and to teach to your children, is what I call OPP. OPP, not you know me, not the song OPP, but OPP stands for opportunity, patience, and perspective. Opportunity, patience, and perspective. So a wealth builder tends to be a person that can see opportunity even when nobody else sees it. Like, they look for opportunity. They know that there's opportunity always in the room. The question is the opportunity in the right side of the room, the left side, the front, the back, or whatever? But there are some people who would just sit at the front of the room. So if opportunity comes to the front of the room, they're all in it. But if it moves to the back of the room, they're still sitting in the same seat. Wealth builders don't sit in the same seat. They go where the opportunities are. Patience means that wealth builders tend to be people that have a longer term perspective. So if the stock market crashes tomorrow, wealth builders are not going to freak out. They're not going to go sell everything. They're just going to wait, right? They're like, okay, well, it'll get better, right? Or if you have a bad month or even a bad year, wealth builders are thinking long term. They're planting long term seeds. So maybe it even starts with education. When I was in school a lot longer than my friends. I didn't actually formally graduate until I was 31 years old. How embarrassing is that, to be in school till you're 31 years old? All your friends went off, got married, had kids, bought houses. You're still in school. But at that time, I just said, I want to plant my seeds now so that I'm really, really on top of my game educationally with my doctorate, so that I can carry this through the rest of my life. And that's what I did. And so I said, I'm going to spend a few years living like nobody else will, so I can spend the rest of my life living like nobody else can. And that plan worked like a charm. I've been benefiting from that sacrifice for over 20 years now. And I've had an opportunity to do things that a lot of people can only dream about. So plant those seeds. So a wealth builder sees opportunity. They look for it. They have patience, and also they have perspective. And I think perspective is where you can kind of see things from a big picture point of view, as opposed to like one situation or one scenario. You're really thinking like, okay, how does this play out? Not just long term in terms of time, but how does it play out relative to everything else? So if I'm doing well in stocks, or one stock is doing really well for me, that's great, but I need to diversify. I need to own multiple stocks. And then if my stocks are doing well overall, I don't need to just focus on stocks. I need to go into real estate. I need to spread my money out. So it's almost like basketball. The thing that makes LeBron James a great basketball player, I'm a sports fan, so I'll use this analogy. The thing that makes LeBron James a great basketball player to me is that LeBron, from the time I saw him when he was 17 years old, when he was 17, I noticed that he has excellent court vision. LeBron can see the whole court. His perspective is amazing. He can see, he'll do a no-look pass all the way down the court to a guy that, you thought he couldn't even see because he sees the whole court. So I believe wealth builders should be able to see the whole court and just sort of see how everything plays out across time and space. So anyway, let me keep going. Let me answer some more questions here. I apologize for that long-winded explanation. What do you think of the long-term impact of COVID will be on the economy and Black business? Good question, Nathaniel. I think it's going to be terrible. I think the lockdown was unnecessary. I think that we could have kept people safe without destroying all their jobs and killing all their businesses. And also now the World Health Organization is in agreement with me. They're actually saying the same thing now. They weren't saying this before, but now they're saying, yeah, lockdowns are bad, because what happened was that it didn't just kill the American economy, it killed the global economy, because America is the economic engine for the world. So in the Caribbean, their economy is flat dead because they depended on tourists from America and Europe to make their money. And also what was really sad about the way the pandemic was handled financially was they wrote this big check for $3 trillion, sent out all the stimulus. All that money went to corporations that didn't need it. It also went to big, gigantic chains and franchises. It missed Black businesses, and it missed small businesses, and it missed poor people. Those are three groups that did not really get the stimulus the way they should have gotten it. So what you saw, like in our community, was all the local businesses shut down. All the local mom and pop restaurants couldn't survive. But for some reason, it was really easy for me to go to Target, Walmart, Lowe's, order from Amazon, go to McDonald's, Chipotle. All these companies, you saw them actually do better in the pandemic. I mean, they literally, if you own stock in any of these companies, you made a killing because these companies were making so much money. So that's really, really sad. I mean, almost to the point where you almost say it's criminal. My God, like how can we have such a glaring type of inequality and not do anything about it? But, welcome to America. And so what I would say to you is number one, you guys know my bias. I don't believe anybody's going to really look out for you. You got to learn to look out for yourself. Very important. Number two, become an investor. If you've got some money, you're consistently putting in the stock market. At the very least, when rich people get richer, you're going to get richer too. You don't have to be a rich person to benefit from, getting on the boat, the economic bandwagon, if you will, that rich people are riding on too. The wealth gap is driven by the stock market. The stock market is the number one factor that's driving the wealth gap. That is the number one factor. And I don't know why there are people who are afraid of it, who've sworn it off, who think it's voodoo, who think it's terrible. They have no real evidence to support this bias, other than the fact that sometimes things we don't know scare us. And so I'm just telling you, the stock market is the reason that the wealth gap exists. It is the reason the wealth gap continues to grow. So if you want to shrink the wealth gap for your family, teach your kids to do at least two things. One, buy stocks at an early age. Give them stock, a little bit of stock every week or two. That's all you got to do. It's not hard. Just a little bit of stock every week or two. Leave it there. Let it grow. Number two, teach them the importance of buying a home. They must own at real estate at some point. I took our 17-year-old out. We were out, riding bikes through the neighborhood, and I was looking at a plot of land I was thinking of buying. And I said, oh yeah, by the way, make sure you buy land. Whatever you do in life, yeah, sure, major in whatever you want, that's fine. But make sure you learn how to start a business. Make sure you buy land, and also make sure you buy stock consistently. When he goes to college, my gift to him will be some shares of stock, right? And that's how I know he's going to be set pretty good if he doesn't make crazy decisions. So anyway, let me keep going. Tequila asks, I would like to start a business from home. How can I raise the money? I need to get equipment and supplies to get started. I would, first of all, maybe join a group or a class or something with people that are legitimate entrepreneurs that know how to make money. That also gives you a support group that can actually help you maybe buy your products and things like that. Number two, I would be very careful about putting a lot of money in when you don't know what you're going to be faced up against or what you're going to need and, things like that. The biggest mistake I've seen with people who are, who are starting new businesses is that they'll pour a bunch of money into stuff and it'll end up, they'll lose almost everything because in the beginning, you just don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you need. So the best blessing I ever had when I started my business was that I couldn't get the money that I thought I needed because it forced me to figure out how to get more with less and how to really cut corners and well, not cut corners, but be really careful financially, right? Like deliver quality, but at the same time, minimize costs. I think that's a good practice for you, as you're moving forward. Let's see. Fonte says, hello, my name is Fondue. I'm a major fan of the channel. All right. Thank you. My question is, can you check out my lyric music video? It's a pro-Black song. I wrote it after being inspired. All right. The song is called Free Game by Fondue. So I want everybody after this class is over, I want you to Google Free Game by Fondue, and I want you to go in and I want you to watch the video, and I want you to give Fondue a positive comment, and I want you to hit the share button so we can make Fondue famous. We've actually had some artists that we've actually made famous on the platform. Some I'm proud of, some I'm not. But there's a rapper named Young M.A. who became famous because I put her on my Facebook page. Nobody knew who she was. She didn't even have a deal, and she became famous after she was on the Facebook page. And then there was another one by the name of Victoria Boyd who blew up. I put her on the Facebook page, and she blew up because she's such a great singer. And then Jay-Z signed it. I know she signed with Rock Nation, and she now lives on Kanye's ranch, and she wrote songs for his last album. So we've had some success stories come out of here. So hopefully you'll be the next one. Arturio, what is your business in a box program you have? That might be attorney Nicole Compton. She might have something like that. Email support@theblackbusinessschool.com. That's support@theblackbusinessschool.com, and they can actually guide you to that. I'm not familiar with that program, but I think attorney Compton might have something like that. Al Turner, what are the best stocks to start my kids investing in? I like stocks that are well-diversified, safe assets that also give your child something to talk about. So I think, for example, if they own iPhones, maybe Apple would be a good place to start. If they love Disney, maybe Disney stock would be a good place to start. I was in line at McDonald's with one of the kids, and I bought some McDonald's stock just so I could explain to her what stock is. We were in line at Starbucks, and I said, let's get some Starbucks stock. Let me show you how fast we can get let's see how fast we can get some Starbucks, ownership, right? And it's fun. It's a fun way to do it. Like, I encourage you to have fun with it. I think stock market ownership should just be something that you just do, like it should just be part of your culture. I really think it should be something that you just like, okay, let's just buy some more stock. Just like giving money to the pastor or whatever. Pay tithes to your future. Pay tithes to your family with investing. How to identify small growth stocks? There are ways. It's like price earnings ratio is a big one. The companies that have high price earnings ratios of price to earnings tend to be growth stocks. But the definition of small depends on, it depends on what you define to be small, right? So maybe you can Google it, Google small growth stocks if you want to. Robinhood gives you some information on the stocks that you might want to consider, what the analysts are saying about them. And also, of course, in the Black Business School, we have the Black Stock Market Program. If you're interested in taking a look at that, the first month is $1. After that, it's $89 a month, but the first month is $1. It's very, very good. It's better than anything you ever took in college. So if you're interested and you haven't taken a look at it, feel free to go to theblackstockmarketprogram.com, THE, that's theblackstockmarketprogram.com. Let's see here. If you ask your question, ask one question at a time. That way I can get as many questions as possible. If you ask 4 or 5, I can't really answer all of them. So I'll answer the first one. The makeup lady, Supercent. No, it's Supercent, Martin. It's Supercent. I think it's SUPACENT. You might have heard, a lot of you probably have heard of her. She was in Essence magazine and everything, and I wasn't making fun of her or trying to dog her out by saying she's a little bit ghetto. But she kind of is. But I love it because it shows that you don't have to go to business school to learn how to run a great business. You just don't. Business school is something that is actually more designed for people that want to work for a business. If you want to run a business, I think just sitting down with somebody who runs a business and having them break it all down to you, I think that's the best training you can ever get. Seriously, if somebody just shows you how to make money, that's like the best gift you can ever receive. So put your kids in a space where somebody can just show them how to make money, how to make it legally and ethically. And in a way that's not going to compromise their values. What do I think about fractional shares? I think they're great. You don't get the same satisfaction as owning a whole share of stock, but fractional shares are cool. Fractional shares are, it's a good way for you to participate in the ownership of an expensive stock without actually having to buy the whole stock. Maya, 16, black and proud. All right, 16-year-old. Everybody clap for Maya, 16 years old. That's what I'm talking about. What made you stray away from Apple Pay? I don't think we strayed away from it. I have to talk to the accounting team. Maybe something happened where they had to take it off the menu, but no, we didn't stray away from it. If there's some other way we can help you, just email support@theblackbusinessschool.com. They can help you out with that. Yeah. And if you're 16, tell them I said to give you something free. I just really think 16-year-olds who are coming into a space like this, that makes you smarter than most 45-year-olds. I'm just telling you, everybody, please cheer for this young lady because I wish, my God, if at 16, if I knew even 1/10 of the stuff that I'm talking to you guys about right now, It would have changed my whole life. I kid you not. Like I'll just tell the truth. Like I love the fact that I have a PhD. I love being a finance professor and everything else. But if I could go back to 18 years old, you know what I would do? I would go to the best entrepreneurship program I could possibly find, like one of these incubators where they teach you everything you need to know about how to run a business and how to make money as soon as possible. And I would have mastered all of that. I would have spent 2 years spending all my time learning how to program computers and run a business. And I would have been a multimillionaire by the age of 24 years old. I kid you not. Because, as a young black man, education was cool and everything, but I saw education as a pathway to have money. I mean, I don't know about you, but I didn't have any money. I was like, okay, school is going to help me get money. I want to get money because I had a daughter when I was 18. I wanted to be able to take care of my daughter. I did all that school because that's all I knew. I didn't know anything else. I just was like, well, if I get that degree, then some white person will give me a nice job paying me lots of money. That's what I thought was the best way to make money. In hindsight, that's just not true. The best way to make a lot of money is to find a quality product and find somebody that will buy it from you and learn how to create a quality business. If you serve people's needs, they will pay you to serve their need. That's just a process of you. And it's not even a sale. You don't have to push people to do anything. I mean, like I sell things, but I would never want anybody to buy anything from me that they didn't actually feel like they needed or that they wanted or that they weren't happy with, right? But people spend money all the time. Think about how much money you spend in the course of a week. All of us are spending money. We're not mad about it. Like if I go pay to eat at a restaurant, I'm not walking out like, damn, these suckers took my money. They ain't right. They robbed me. No, I'm like, thank you for the meal. I appreciate it. Here's a tip. That was great service. Thank you for great service and great food, right? So the key to wealth, in my opinion, one of the most important keys, tell this to your kids. Bring your kids in the room right now. I'll give you about 10 seconds to do that. Bring your kids in. I'm going to give you the secret to making money. I swear to God, I really believe this from the core of my heart. The secret to making as much money as you want is, now get ready. Y'all ready? You ready? I'm about to give you some real game here. This is real stuff. I've seen it happen. The secret to making lots of money is to find out what people need and get it for them. That's it. Find out what people need or what they want, right? And give it to them. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's what the local dope dealer would say. What you need? I got what you need. You need pills, you need it, right? Now don't be selling dope, right? We don't want to do that, right? Well, that's probably in the wants category, right? You don't want to be a dope dealer. But basically, if you think about this, right? If you go to places where they give you excellent customer service, or you go to like a third world country where they're waiting on you hand and foot, getting you the best food, being really nice to you, they're sitting there like, they're like, what do you need? How can we make you happy, legally, right? Or illegally, I'm not judging, right? How can we make you happy so that you will give us money? And you'll be happy to give us money because we gave you something. It's quid pro quo, it's a trade, right? So the key to making money is to understand people and to understand the law of reciprocity. The more you give to them, the more you help them get what they want and what they need, the more they'll give you what you need, right? So when I get up every day, I'm always thinking about the people that support what we do. And I'm like, what do they need? How can I help you? Like, how can I be such an asset to your life that you're happy to give me money if I have something for sale, right? The same thing's true. But here's the interesting thing too. Economics is just like love. It's just like a relationship, just like a relationship. If I want something from Alicia, the best way for me to get her to give me what I want is for me to be in tune with what she needs and to put my best foot forward and do everything in my power to make her as happy as I possibly can. So that when I need something, she's going to come through for me, right? And some people approach love in the wrong way. These are the people that can't keep a relationship, right? They come into it selfishly, like a bad salesperson. They're thinking about how much they can get out of the customer without thinking about what they can do for the customer, right? Like, you say prostitution, right? I think that's kind of, I'm not judging, but I think that's a little bit out there, right? That's not something I believe in per se, but I think at the end of the day, that's what it all comes down to. It's reciprocity, right? I think wise people understand that the key to receiving is to be the best giver that you can actually be. If you go read George Fraser's book, Success Runs in Our Race, where he talks about how he networks with these really rich and powerful people that want to help him and do great things for him. He starts off every conversation by saying, what can I do for you? When he first meets a person, like he meets Oprah, he doesn't start off by saying, "Okay, Oprah, I got a new book and I got a new album out. Can you hook me up? Can you give me the hookup?" No, he starts off by saying, here's some things I can do for you. Here's a contact I know. Here's a resource I have, right? And then the law of reciprocity kicks in. And then next thing you know, everybody's taking care of everybody else. And that's how an economy works. That's how economies work. So teach that to your kids. Identify what people need, help them get what they need, and then people will pay you to give them what they need. They will be begging you to take their money, because you don't have to sell water to a man who's thirsty. You just have to offer him water, and he'll beg you to take his money. All right, so Dilco, I have newborns in the family. I would like to set up accounts where I can buy fractional shares on a dollar cost basis. Do you have something like this? I don't have something like this. On Stash, they have custodial accounts. I'm not if you want my bias opinion, this is, I want to be clear that this is biased. I don't believe in putting lots of money in the control of children. I think children just, my kids infuriate me half the time. I don't know about y'all's kids. And if I gave them, $50,000 or whatever, they go do something crazy with it, and then I'd have to choke them, and I'd have to murder one of them, and then that would be bad for my reputation, right? If I murdered one of my kids. So to save their lives and keep me from having to kill them, I keep the money under my control. And also to make sure I don't deprive them of what I had, of the hunger and the excitement and the thrill of in the empowerment of working hard and accomplishing things. I don't even tell them that the money's there. I don't even let them know how much money there is available. I just sit back like a guardian angel with resources, and I watch. And as I see them struggling, they'll say, "Gosh, I saved up $8,000 to get my car. I just need $2,000 more to get the car I want." Well, guess what? Dad steps in and says, "Here, I just cashed out you $2,000." Right? And that's what you do, right? Or at least I believe that, right? You're giving them a safe space that allows them to grow. Because one of the things about money, money's heavy. There are a lot of psychological implications to money. And the thing about money is that money, it can almost be a curse. If money is too easy to obtain, it can kill your desire. It can kill your hunger, your motivation. Think about it. Think about how many people get up every day and go to work every day because they need the money. So what do? One of the biggest challenges you'll run into, and rich people in the room might be able to identify with this, and I'm not going to sit here and brag or anything, but I'm not a broke person. I do okay financially. But one of the big challenges I actually remember running into was when I actually got to the point where I had enough money. And I got to the point where I had all the stuff I wanted. I didn't want a nicer car. I didn't want a nicer house. I didn't want more clothes. I buy my clothes at Walmart, Target, and Kmart, or wherever. I'm not a flashy person. And I remember thinking, well, why am I getting out of bed today? For all these years, I got out of bed because I wanted money, or I needed money, or I was trying to make more money. Now I don't need money. What do I do now? So then you have to find another sense of purpose beyond that. And I believe that that's why a lot of wealthy people, you see a lot of rich kids that sit around and they get high on drugs all day, or they become suicidal. And you're like, well, why would the son of a billionaire want to kill himself? Well, because he doesn't have a sense of purpose. He doesn't have any reason to live. Having a reason to live is one of the greatest factors in living. When they go back to the Holocaust with the Jewish community, they said the number one factor that helped people survive was when they had a purpose. Like I got to survive so I can do this, right? If you have no purpose, then you're just kind of floating in the wind. So I encourage you to always be in tune with your purpose, so that when you do get money, you'll kind of know like why it's there, and why you get up every day, and what it is you want out of life. That's just my personal advice. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little biased, because when I talk about, I don't think I really had a midlife crisis, and I haven't had a lot of regrets. Like I don't look back in my life and say, gosh, I wish I'd done more of this and more of that. But when I did have something that felt like a midlife crisis, it literally occurred when I had accomplished almost every single thing I'd ever wanted to accomplish. And then I was like, I told Alicia, I said, I don't even want to get out of bed now. Like, why am I getting up today? What's the point? I have nowhere to go. I'm the boss of everything in my space. There's nobody telling me I have to be at the job at 9:00. I just want to lay in the bed and watch Netflix all day. I don't want to do that, So anyway, let me keep going. Trenton Hodge, I'm a huge fan. Thank you. I'm in your options course, and it's been life-changing, especially for my mindset. Thank you very much, Trenton. I appreciate that feedback, and I wish you the very best with that. And if anybody wants to go and take a look at the options class, it's blackoptionsinvesting.com. The first month is $1. You can give it a try at blackoptionsinvesting.com. Or if you're looking for the masterclass, you can actually ask the enrollment specialist on the website about the masterclass. They can show you that too. Thank you, Trenton, for the feedback. I appreciate that. I'm glad it's helped you. Al Turner, is the BMOT downloadable after we finish the training to review for future use? Well, we make it easy. I mean, once you we have a lifetime membership. So if you want to do a lifetime membership, you can just be there forever. Now if you're doing monthly, then it's month to month, of course, right? So that option does exist. But if you go lifetime, then you have access for as long as the program's up there. Trenton is a math major with a passion for education. I want to monetize, but I've been struggling outside of tutoring. Do you have any ideas or suggestions to get some capital to invest from this skill? Well, I think math is a great skill to have to go into business. I think that if you want to learn how to make more money, maybe look online and just find some of these people out there that are gurus and just know how to do it, just know how to make money and stuff like that. I think that there's a lot there that's really, I would almost say, as valuable, if not more valuable, than some of the stuff you learn in college. I really believe that. By the way, I pinned your URL up there, Lady Ronette. Thank you for typing in the URL. I appreciate that. Yeah, I would go and just kind of reinvent yourself. Like that was what I did when I decided I wanted to quit my job, and I was at Syracuse University. I had a good job. I was making good money. But I didn't like my situation. I didn't like working for these people and having, some of them just, I didn't relate to them very well. And I remember realizing, okay, I spent a lot of years getting trained on all the wrong stuff. I learned a lot of stuff about, the things I knew were things I knew, but I learned that there were a lot of things I did not know. So I just started over. I just started listening to podcasts, where entrepreneurs would tell their stories and explain how they got started. I started doing lots of research, started reading books, taking classes. If somebody knows something that you really want to know, I would go ahead and pay money to learn from that person. Like, I mean, think about this. We'll go, we'll spend $100,000 going to college, and I know college professors pretty well. I've taught at a lot of universities, Indiana University, University of Kentucky, et cetera. And a lot of the professors are very good at teaching you what's in a book. Unfortunately, a lot of professors are not very good at teaching you about what happens in the real world. So because of that, they're not very good at kind of preparing you for some of the things that you might want to do that involve real life. And also, most of them aren't Black either. So they're not very good at teaching a young Black man how to go out and make $1 million in the real world by, building an independent business. Most Black professors can't even do that. So you got to find people who have the skill set that you're trying to obtain and realize that the world is your university, not just the college campus. The world is a university. And so if I'll give you an example. I was doing a one-on-one consultation with a brother one time. And my one-on-ones are not cheap. Cause I don't like to do a lot of one-on-ones anyway, cause I'd rather talk to you as a group. And, but he wanted to talk to me one-on-one. So I talked to him, and he told me that he had done his first real estate deal, and he put $750,000 in this deal. And it was his first ever real estate deal. And I said, wow, I really wish I could build you a time machine so you could go back and talk to me before you did this deal. You put all of your wealth into one deal, and it was your first real estate deal. I said, at the very least, I would have told you to go find somebody who does real estate, in their sleep, and pay that person a couple grand to walk through the process with you and help you identify the red flags. Because what happened was he got locked in this deal. He couldn't get out. And so his wealth was all tied up. It was depleting, by the second, and he didn't know what to do. And so ultimately, I think whatever it is you're going to do, like if you're going to go into real estate for the first time, why not throw somebody a little bit of money for their time to get to just walk through the process with you? Mentorship is more valuable than a teacher. A mentor is somebody who's really going to specialize what they tell you to your specific situation. I don't think you can really put a price tag on that, because that'll also save you a lot of money and save you a lot of time. Remember, when you're learning from a really smart person who's been doing something for 20 years, you're not buying their labor. You're buying 20 years of knowledge, which is saving you 20 years of trial and error. So have those conversations. I had one conversation with a guy 8 years ago, and over lunch, and in 45 minutes, he told me a couple of things that would have taken me 5 years to figure out that made me an extra $250,000 that year. So have conversations with the right people. It's very important. Should we invest in Umar's school or stop? I'm not going to really speak on Umar's school. I hope he builds it. I hope it works out. I gave $25 to the school. I don't want my $25 back, but I'm not going to give another $25. So there you go. There's that. Robin, do you know what the 5G stock is that's selling for $3 on the stock exchange? No, I do not. I do not, Robin. But 5G is going to be the wave of the future. That's for sure. Will the Powernomics book be included in the cost of the class? No, you can actually get your book at powernomics.com. It's not included in the cost of the class, but actually, let me give you something that's even better. If you guys are interested in joining the Powernomics Masterclass, you can actually go to powernomicsmasterclass.com, and that's powernomicsmasterclass.com. It starts on the 15th at 2 p.m., and you can actually use the code word podcast to get 30% off. So use the code word podcast. It takes 30% off, which I think 30% is, I don't know, maybe it's over $100 or something. So it's more than the cost of the book. So feel free to go to powernomicsmasterclass.com, use the code word podcast. Dr. Anderson and I will start at 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern on the dot. Jessica in Puerto Rico. Oh, Jessica and Rico, Puerto Rico and New England. Okay. I'm new to investing, but when COVID hit and the cruise line industry took a hit, I purchased 200 shares of Royal Caribbean. I made 102% return. What are your thoughts, if any, on the cruise industry? I'm a big investor in the cruise industry. I'm a big investor in airlines, American Airlines and Carnival. Those are the two stocks that I invest heavily in. I like American and Carnival also, though, because I wrote call options on my stock for American and Carnival. So when you write the call option, if you pick a strike price that's, pretty solid, like a distance away from the stock, then even if the stock goes into the money, I know I might be talking over your head a little bit if you haven't done the option stuff, but the options students know what I'm talking about. Basically what it allows you to do, I'll explain in layman's terms. So basically, if you set it up in a certain way, writing the call option, what that does is it allows me to get my money out of the stock, because I see those as risky stocks. Like I see American Airlines as a risky investment. Carnival's a risky investment. So when I do a risky investment, my goal is to get my money out as quick as I can. So I like those stocks because the premiums on the call options are pretty good. So instantly, once I bought the stock, I wrote call options, but I wrote it with a big enough distance to the strike price such that if they go in the money, I'm still going to make money, even if I'm not making as much as I would have made if I'd held the stock alone, right? So now I think my Carnival, it's American. My American stock, the options I just wrote 2 weeks ago, they're in the money now because American's been getting pushed up because Pelosi and Trump and everybody's kind of talking about helping the airlines out. So American Airlines stock has gone up. It's gone into the money. So what happened is I made the money from selling the call options, and then I made money from the increase in the stock price. But after $13 a share, I don't get any of that. But I am invested in the airlines and the cruise ships, also the casinos. Casinos are another one that are going to benefit tremendously when things open back up. And again, if you want to check out the options class, it's blackoptionsinvesting.com. That's blackoptionsinvesting.com. Arturo, what's the best stock of a 10-year company or a 5-year company? There's no preference. 5 years is a good long horizon. 10 years is better. But if you're a 5 or 10-year investor and you're diversified, you're probably going to do fine. You're not going to lose money most of the time. What is a great investment for somebody who has $10,000 available? There's a lot of good investments. I think that some of these funds, just like mutual funds or index funds, those work just as well. So a lot of times with investing, it comes down to your preference. Like, what kind of investor do you want to be? Do you want to be an active investor who's buying and selling all the time, or do you want to be passive, where you just set it and forget it? Some people don't want to fool with all that. Some people don't want to even look at it. They just want to automatically invest. Well, that's what index funds allow you to do. You just automatically invest, and you just make sure the money's coming out of your account every week, every month. And then 10, 20 years later, you've got a big stack of money because your money's growing the entire time. Where you're losing money is if you haven't been participating in the market, because the market's been going up consistently for like 40 or 50 years. If you're over the age of, say, 40 or 50 years old, and you had started investing at, say, 15 or 20 years old and just had a consistent amount, let's say 10% of your income coming out and going into the stock market, your wealth would be massive right now. Like, and so when you talk about things like the racial wealth gap, little things like that, I can't tell you how the whole Black community is going to close the wealth gap, but I can tell you how you can close the wealth gap. If you did something that basic, just like tithing to church. People put 10%, they get 10% to the pastor, and don't nobody know what the pastor did with the money, right? I'm not criticizing that, but that money's not going to grow. But if you tithe to yourself and tithe to your family and just have 10% going into even a basic index fund, if you started that 20 years ago, even if you made the same amount of money as the average American, you would not be an average American right now. You would be in the top 20% or 30% in terms of wealth, because you'd have a big pile of money sitting there. So the biggest mistake you can make on stock market investing is when you don't participate, because then you're not, it's like going down the highway, and some people have really fast cars, some people have really slow cars. Well, if you're not investing, you're the person who's literally sitting on the side of the road, not even moving. You're not even walking. Even a person that's walking, if they walk for 30 hours, they're going to cover some distance. But if you're sitting still and you have no car, then you shouldn't be surprised when everyone else is way ahead of you. And that gap, that distance gap, is going to grow because they're moving down the road and you're sitting still. And the stock market is built in a way. This is due to something they call the efficient markets hypothesis. This is the biggest thing, the biggest debate I have with Black folks that don't understand the market. The efficient markets hypothesis kind of protects you. It's like how, they say God protects babies and fools, right? Well, this is kind of the financial guide, if you will, not to be sacrilegious, but this is the financial guide that protects you. So even if you invest and you are a baby or a fool, right? Hopefully, you're probably not a fool because you're here, but some of you might be babies. Well, the efficient markets hypothesis protects babies, because what it does is it basically says that there's certain mechanisms in the market so that if you're just following a couple of basic rules, your wealth is going to grow in this market. If 20 years ago, if a person just blindly picked stocks, I swear to God, I'm not making this up. This is all verified by financial theory. You're not talking to a guy who took a couple classes and read a couple books. I've written research papers on this. You don't understand how hard it is to write an academically peer-reviewed research paper. It's a whole nother level of understanding that you have to have. You can't just regurgitate what you read in a book. You have to push the frontier of knowledge and understanding. One of the things I can tell you is that a person 20 years ago, if they were to just randomly buy stock every week, and they were just to spread it out, spread the money out, that's the number one rule, and be consistent, and just put 10% of their income in the market and just literally close their eyes and pick the stock every week, that person would have a ton more wealth than that person sitting on the sideline explaining why the stock market is dangerous and scary and risky. Because what would happen is you would be planting seeds, and you're planting seeds in very fertile soil. And as a result, you would just have all this growth, where to the point where the amount of money that you put in, let's say over the course of 20 years, you actually put in, $20,000 or something, right? That 20,000 would be, 80,000, 100,000 or more. Right. So just take the little steps. It's very, very important. Hi says, who can I reach out to with help for marketing my business, to scale my business? There are a few people out there. Lene Javette, who we're actually doing this this segment on Dr. Boyce TV called Life's a Pitch. And we want to let people pitch their businesses. And we're letting Black business school students go first. They're the first ones that they get to pitch, because we figured with the audience, we could let them pitch their business. People that want to support Black businesses can go and take a look at the business and either buy from them or give them feedback on how to make their business better. And so we call it a wealth mob. Like a wealth mob means you make them wealthy with either money or knowledge. And so anyway, Lene does a little bit of that. There are also lots of people on Fiverr and Upwork and stuff like that that can help you. And also there's classes you can take on marketing your business online, stuff like that. Bernard, opinion on passive investing to secure your principal. I like passive investing. Set it and forget it. A lot of people become millionaires that way. It's very straightforward to do. What do you think about Apple and Tesla stock splits? I thought they were great. I own both companies. The stock splits push the prices up. I believe Amazon's going to split. I also believe Google's going to split. I think those are the two next companies that are going to split, especially given the antitrust scrutiny. Now, in fact, now that I think about it, it actually makes me want to go buy more Amazon stock, because I believe that Amazon scrutiny that they're receiving about antitrust issues is going to increase their incentive to do a stock split. Because if you do a stock split, then you're kind of lowering your price so that everybody can be an owner in the stock. And it's kind of a populist move. It's going to hopefully get the public on their side. I think that's why Apple did their split. So I think Amazon will be the next company to split, and then Google. Are we going to study Powernomics? Yes. Are we going to study from Powernomics? Yeah, what we're going to do with the Powernomics Masterclass is we're going to cover all chapters. There are 8 chapters in Powernomics. So each week for 8 weeks, Dr. Anderson and I, he will answer questions about every chapter in Powernomics. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to back him up with office hours. So he's in this class, he's Batman. I'm going to be Robin. So basically, we're going to have Dr. Anderson there. He's going to break it down for you, where you can literally read the book or look at chapters in the book and ask him questions about the chapters. He'll answer those questions in a small group setting. And then I'll have office hours where I'll help either frame context on what Dr. Anderson talked about, but also I will talk about ways you can implement Powernomics within your family. Like the way I like to believe that I've supplemented what Dr. Anderson wrote in that extraordinary book is I'm really, really good at thinking about individualistic or family specific ways you can incorporate collective economic principles that keep you from having to wait, for 40 million other Black people to get on board. Like, because you would hear these big grand plans, like if we can get 40 million Black people to all donate $10 a week, then we'd have $400 million a week. Yeah, good luck with that, right? Good luck getting all Black people on the same page, because they're not on the same damn page. We know that, right? Or Black leaders are all over the place because you don't know what they're thinking. So I'm a believer that we should decentralize Black leadership. I think we should take the power of leadership out of the hands of the leaders. And I really want to empower everybody in here to be a Black leader, because you're leading an institution. Your institution is your family. You're leading your family. And there are things you can do right there in your family that do not require you to wait for Al Sharpton or any Black leader, the NAACP or even Boyce Watkins. You ain't got to wait for nobody. You can start doing certain things that are going to make you successful no matter who's president, no matter what the Black leadership does, no matter what the Black community does. The whole community can go to hell in a handbasket, but your children, you and yours, will be doing better than the average white person. It is very easy for a Black person with proper planning and proper training to have more wealth than the average white person. That is not hard to do. I know the statistics. I know what their numbers are. It's very easy. I can show you mathematically in about 30 seconds how your child would easily have 2 to 3 times more wealth than the average white person. And that's a guarantee. That's easy to do. Let me keep going. Let me see here. What are your thoughts on Ice Cube contract with Black America? I think it's great. I'm a big fan with Ice Cube. He and I are friends now. And so he's not just my favorite rapper. I had 2 favorite rappers, Ice Cube and T.I. I met them both this year, so that was kind of cool. Ice Cube and I hit it off a little bit better. T.I. and I, he's still my favorite rapper, but I don't know much about him as a person. But Cube, we talk a lot, and I approve his message. I think that what he's doing right now is extraordinary. And anybody who puts Black people at the front of the line, that's my friend. That's an ally. That's somebody I'm going to back to the end of the time, because we have too many people that don't want to put Black people first. Maybe they're scared, or they're not used to that, or they think that that's being greedy or mean or selfish. I don't believe that, because I think that we have serious critical issues, and we need surgery. We need priority. We need that to be code red, code 1, number 1, top priority issue, no matter what, and that's just what I believe, and that's what he believes, and that's why we're friends. Pamela, how do you know when to sell a stock? Really, there's no specific way to know when to sell a stock. I'm gonna tell you the truth. But it's like a religion, right? If you ask a Christian and a Jew and a Muslim some of the same questions, they might have different answers because they have different beliefs. Well, with investing, it's kind of the same way. Some people sell stock because they just want to take the money and do something with it. They just want to go and spend it or whatever. I try not to do that. Because your stock ownership is giving you your economic power. It gives you your capital. Capital is basically, that's like your security. It's like your economic security guards, if you will. Your capital is a big pile of resources that you have that you can lean on in case times get tough. Universities use their endowments as their capital base. Their endowment basically protects them in case COVID comes around and they have no enrollment and they're losing, $100 million that year. Well, guess what? They can go to their endowment to protect them and make sure the university can continue to function as it did before, right? So every family needs an endowment. Every individual needs an endowment. Your capital is your endowment. The struggle that Black people have economically, the reason that our wealth gap is so big is because many of us were born without an endowment. So that's like playing football without a helmet. That's like going out into battle without a sword or a shield, right? So effectively, you want to create your endowment and build up your capital base. So your stock is part of your capital base. So I try not to sell. If I buy something, my goal is to hold it. Now, if I do sell it, my goal is to make sure that capital isn't depleted, the capital is preserved. So if I sell stock, it will usually be because I either want to buy another stock. Maybe I'm thinking, you know what, I got too much tech stuff. You know, my Apple stock's doing really well and it's gone way up. Now I've got too much money in tech. I want to move some money over to another industry just to spread it out, right? Or maybe I have too much stock and I need more real estate. So when Alicia and I wanted to buy a rental property, I sold stock to go buy the rental property so that we can just be spread out a little bit, right? Because that's the other thing, you got to protect your wealth. If you have it all in one place, then it can all just sort of be blown up. Another time you might sell stock might be because you, let me see, you would sell it either because you need to spend the money or you want to spend the money on something which is going to deplete your capital, or you want to invest it in something else. That's pretty much it. I mean, if you know, because really the thing about it, the problem is a lot of people will tell you that you sell stock because you know that stock's going to go down and another stock is going to go up. That's kind of bad advice, because there's another theory in finance called the random walk hypothesis that's been tested pretty heavily that says that there is no way to predict what an individual stock is really going to do. You know, and this is debatable. People are going to argue with me all day long, and I'm not going to argue back because people can believe what they want to believe. But this sort of thing, like I'm going to duck and dodge and move in time and pick the right stock at the right time, that's hard to do, and it doesn't work a lot of times, and it will drive you crazy and you will lose money that way. The reason that a lot of people believe that it works, the reason a lot of people think that they're good at it, is because the market has done so well that it's easy to make money. It's like if it's raining money out of the sky, then everybody's going to have $50, $100 bills in their pocket, right? And you know, everybody's doing well because money's raining out of the sky. This is a very easy stock market to make money in. If you've been investing consistently and have even done 1/10 of what we've talked about the last 7 months since COVID started, you have made a killing. Give me a yes or no in the chat right now if you've been making money like crazy in 2020 in the stock market. Give me a yes or no. Most of you are probably making a ton of money, and I know this because I'm watching the same market you are. I understand the factors and dynamics that occur within this market. If you came to me and said, Doc, I've been investing like crazy and I've been losing money, I'd be like, what are you doing? What are you You're doing something wrong, because a dead person can make money in this stock market. A puppy could invest in this market and make money. The interesting challenge, though, will be what happens when, you know, the market goes south, and what happens when the market goes south for a year. You know, what happens if you have just a bad 5-year run? You know, I think those are the situations where, you know, where investing skill kind of shows itself a little bit more. All right. So anyway, Annette, what class do you have for teenagers or young adults like 19 to 23 years old? Two things you might take a look at. One is blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com, which is a program for kids, but we have a lot of, you know, 50-year-old kids in that program. And then there's another one called Young, Black, and Rich. And I don't remember what the URL is, but if you go, let me see if I can find it. Let me see here. And it was designed specifically for, we used to call them millennials, but they're not millennials anymore. Now the millennials are old. So whatever generation comes after the millennials. And it's basically designed for young people. And so I'll give you the URL right here. I'll type this in and share it. So feel free to go take a look at that. I think the first month is free or something like that. And it's really designed for young people. You know, and I really think that the biggest, most important skill a young person can get is to learn wealth and investing. I really, and it's controversial, but I hate saying it like that, but I believe that's actually more important than a college degree. I think college degrees are very important, though. You know, all of our kids are going to go to college. We're telling them to go to college. Their mother would kill them if they didn't go to college. But as the 17-year-old's headed off to college, I just have told him, he's like, well, what major should I pick? Should I pick this major or that major? This major, the average starting salary is this much. That major, the average starting salary is that much. And I humor him with those conversations. Like, I'm like, okay, yeah, that's pretty nice. That's really nice. But really, after that's done, I say to him, just make sure you learn how to start a business and make sure you invest and make sure you own some property, because then starting salaries won't mean anything to you, because the amount of money that they're making in a year, you'll be making that much money in a week or in a month. And then at that point, you're playing above the rim in a whole different stratosphere. So I really think that, if you have a smart young person in your family, if any of you have smart kids, teach them how to play above the rim. Teach them to get to a world where they don't care about payday. They don't care if it's every other Friday or whatever. They're not thinking about payday. Put them in a world where they're not thinking like, okay, how do I go from making 70,000 a year to 75,000 a year? Like, put them in a world where they might make 75,000 a month. If they learn really good entrepreneurial skill, and then they really learn how to invest extremely well so they can grow the money they're receiving, they'll just be in a whole different reality, in a whole different universe. My life was so much better when I got to a point where a few things happened. One, I didn't work for racist people anymore. I didn't have to deal with that anymore. So I don't see, I read about racism and what people go through, but and I've gone through it, but I don't go through it now because I don't work with people I don't want to work with. I get to choose who I want to work with. And that was the plan. It wasn't like it just happened. I didn't just get lucky. That was my plan when I was 25 years old. Also, my life got better when I wasn't living for the 1st and the 15th. I don't think in terms of payday and weekends and all that. If I want to take time off, I just take time off, so Tuesday could become Saturday if I decide I want to make it Saturday. I go to meetings and the meeting starts when I arrive. I don't have to be on time if I don't want to. I am on time because I want to set a good example, but the meeting starts when I walk into the room. That's a very empowering feeling to have, particularly as a Black man, where you live in a world where everybody tells you how oppressed you are. And I'm not saying that to brag. And I think some people, because we're conditioned to sort of think in that oppressive mindset, there are people that will get angry if you even share that in an honest fashion. And they get mad because I guess they think that you can't relate to what it feels like to be an oppressed Black man every day. And I'm like, no, I can relate to it very well. That's why I got away from that. That's why I made an escape plan. When I was 25, 26 years old, I did not have enough money. I was renting a house. I was dating a girl who had a young child who was about 3 years old, and it was me and her, and we rented this house for $500. And I remember just thinking, man, my life would be so much easier if I had an extra $1,000 a month. I remember not being able to pay the bills on time. I remember breaking the lease because I couldn't afford the rent that month. I saw all of that. I lived through all of that, and I think, and what I really want to encourage you to consider is us shifting our mindsets to the point that we stop vilifying people when they try to actually create solutions and hope and possibility in the lives of Black people. Like, why would you, if I tell you all this, why would you say, oh, well, you're just a rich, famous professor and it's easy for you? But I didn't start that way. I wasn't born like this. There's a process. I went through a process, so figure out what the process is going to be and get your kids through that process. And the reason I talk a lot, even though I'm talking, I got my dental work done. I know I sound a little bit stupid and crazy sometimes. Sometimes my words slur a little bit, whatever. But I'm talking through all this chaos just to say, like, there is a better way. There is a better set of possibilities. And I really just hope that you'll internalize this as a human being, but also you got to teach that to your kids. That whole, like, go to school, go deep in student loan debt so that you can hope that some white person will give you a great job making lots of money. That model is an economic death trap. That is one of the leading reasons why Black wealth is going backward, because your best players on the team are putting the ball in the wrong basket. Your most educated, your most talented, your talented 10th have been handicapped because they're all going down the wrong path. Imagine if you're going to war and all your best soldiers go right into an ambush. So they literally trap your best soldiers and they kill all your best soldiers, and then you're left with the scraps. You're not going to win that battle. So some of your children are going to be the best soldiers. Some of your kids are geniuses. Some of your kids can do anything. Set them in a space where the bar is really, really high, And the bar tends to be high when you position them to be business owners, when you position them to own assets, own real estate, when you position them to buy stock at an early age. There's another interesting thing. This is another thing that I actually went through that was really fun and fascinating was, when I would sit there and it was so much fun. I'm sitting there with Alicia. I'm laying in the bed, and I bought a couple stocks and sold a couple other stocks, and I was like, wow, look at how much money we made just because I just made this trade. And it's such a different reality from what I grew up with, because what I grew up with is if you wanted more money, you had to give up more time. You had to give up more hours of your life to make more money. And I literally made that money lying in the bed, right? So I want you to teach your kids how to make money while they're lying in the bed. Do you follow me? Does that make sense? Okay, so let's see. Arturo, do you think it's smart to invest in Africa stock for the future? Africa is going to be the next great economic frontier. Africa is going to be in the 21st century what India and China were in the 20th century. Africa has tremendous growth potential. And Africa, if you, and one way to get involved, you could do direct business with Africa for sure, or you could go and just buy stock in a mutual fund that invests in Africa and maybe other third world countries. Emerging markets in third world countries are a huge opportunity. There's a lot of untapped potential there. So I think Africa is a great place to invest. Blackmillionairesofthefuture.com. Actually, Robin, it's blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. That's our kids program. That's blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. And the stock market program is theblackstockmarketprogram.com. That's theblackstockmarketprogram.com. That's my stock market class. Feel free to check that out. Fonte says, is the Trump Platinum Plan helpful to blacks, or is it smoke and mirrors? Well, if they were to execute that plan exactly the way they laid it out, then it would be a great plan. But there's a difference between what they say and what they do, right? Politicians do that. Politicians say one thing and do something else. So the big critique you can make of Trump's Platinum Plan is that it's a whole lot of talk, but there isn't any action that confirms that this will actually occur. So if you think about it, like if you go to a bank and you get a loan, or you're asking for a loan and you're making a promise on paper to pay back money, what are they going to do? They're going to look at your credit report. They're going to look at your history. They're going to look at your past actions to decide how credible are you? How much can we trust you, right? Well, if you look at Trump's credit score when it comes to blackness, you can't find any tangible proof or evidence over the last 4 years. He's had 4 years to implement a platinum plan for black people. He's had 4 years to do that. He hasn't done it yet, right? So the fact that he hasn't done anything over the last 4 years means that I'm not going to believe anything over the next 4 years until you actually do it. Now, if they are serious and they actually do it, I'll listen. I'll listen. If I see, I'll mark my word. If I see any real evidence that they are really implementing any aspect of the platinum plan and really putting real money behind it, if they ask me to sit down at the table and give them recommendations on how to implement it better, I will do that. I will walk into the lion's den for black folks. I don't do that whole like, oh, I'm not going to sit down and meet with them because they're not. I don't owe the Democratic Party anything. I don't owe the Republican Party anything. I owe black people. That's who I owe. So that's who I'm going to represent everywhere I go, period. The blackreigroup.com. Yes. That's the URL for the real estate investment program. I'll type that in if you want to see it. It's the blackreigroup.com. It's really, really good. So feel free to go check that out. That's where they're buying multifamily property and doing a lot of really great things. And what Julian Gordon has there is really solid. And I recommend taking a look at it. And I love what they're doing in terms of buying the block in Baton Rouge. I mean, I think that's going to be a real game changer. And I find that people get really inspired, when they see cooperative economics in action. And you're really just going to see, I mean, I encourage you. I know that maybe sometimes I sound like a pessimist because I'll talk about, the bad things that are happening, the things that are going wrong in our community. But really, there's a lot of reason for optimism. There are a lot of things happening in the community that give me tremendous hope. When I first started talking about Black economics in public and the wealth gap and, Black people building wealth and all that, I was warned against it because nobody was interested in it. Everybody was told that it wasn't, going to work with Black people or whatever. But now that's just not true anymore. Now you hear rappers rapping about it. I get celebrities that call me and ask me questions about it, things like that. So the world's come a long way and Black people really have too. So I'm really excited about that. Now, somebody said the URL isn't working. I just tried the blackreigroup.com. So you may have to try it on a different browser, but I just tried it again and it worked for me. So if you have any trouble, though, just email support@theblackbusinessschool.com. Aisha, email support@theblackbusinessschool.com. They can get you there. Can you share the author name of the book you mentioned earlier? I don't know which book. Are you talking about Powernomics? Yeah, that's Powernomics by Dr. Claude Anderson. You can go to powernomics.com. And also, he's doing a masterclass in the Black Business School. If you want to take a look, go to powernomicsmasterclass.com. That's powernomicsmasterclass.com. What does my shirt say? It says Democrat, Republican, Black. Every election, I'm voting for Black people. And I vote with my time. I vote with my knowledge. I vote with my dollar bills. And so whether you're Democrat or Republican, I really don't care. I just want us after all the shenanigans are over, I want us to come back together and come up with an action plan for our people. Angela, yes, I knew that JJ is an excellent marketer. Julian Gordon, is that right? I would like to purchase your program. I don't know which program you're referring to, but yeah, Julian Gordon, if you're talking about him, he's great. Richetta, do you agree that mutual funds are a ripoff? No, I don't. But people like Warren Buffett believe in what they call no-load mutual funds, where they don't charge you for, any sort of active management. Like they don't charge you for some smart guy that went to Harvard or a team of so-called smart people to move your money around. I think that's really debatable, but because I think in times like COVID, I think active management can be beneficial because the market is so skewed and crazy, right? But I think in a well-functioning market, I can see where Buffett would have a point. So I don't think mutual funds as a concept are a bad idea, though, because they give you instant diversification. I think that's really, really good. Where can you get the shirt? You can get the shirt at wokeblacktees.com. That's wokeblacktees.com. WOKE, wokeblacktees.com. How important is it to find a mentor, says Eric? I think mentors can be helpful. And if you can't find a direct mentor, just go online and, if you like somebody, you like what they're doing, sign up for a class or something. Like I mentor thousands of young people. I can't talk to them all on the phone, but I get on here and I'll just talk for, an hour, 2 hours, or until my head starts hurting, mainly because, I want to dump and share as much information as possible. So if somebody isn't your friend, even if you don't know somebody, they can still mentor you without you actually having to talk to them directly. But there are mentors out there that'll do both for you. Let's see, Kim. Let's see. How can I hear this call from the beginning? I'll send the recording out. If you came in here into the actual webinar, you'll actually get a link to the recording. So I'll set it up where you can watch it. What do you think about the Charles Schwab Slice program? Sean, I do not know what that is. I will look that up. I assume Slice might be fractional shares or something, but that's all. I don't know anything about that. Jamila, when should you switch from using investing apps like Stockpile, Stash, Cash App to large brokerage firms like TD Ameritrade, Ally, and et cetera? I don't think you actually ever have to. I know people that have hundreds of thousands of dollars in those apps. So I don't think you actually have to do that. I think it's a matter of figuring out if one of the brokerages has services that you really need. So for example, with Robinhood, I did find that it was a little bit tough to move my stock over to another brokerage. They make that very, very hard to do, to the point where you have to sell the stock and pull the cash out and then buy it somewhere else, which is going to cause tax complications. So that's one thing I would look out for. But in terms of functionality, I think these apps actually do a decent job. Let's see, Sally, would you recommend Forex trading? My nephew's doing this now. Forex is fun. I don't know if Forex, he wants to do Forex full time and drop out of school. Yeah, I agree with you, Sally. Tell him I said I don't think that's a great idea. I think he should still go to school. And I don't think of Forex as something where you can make simple, consistent, long-term income. Forex is what they call a zero-sum game sort of market. For you to make money, somebody else has to lose money. And so the ability to consistently always win on these trades, that I haven't seen evidence that that's the case, but I'm not going to say that's not possible. I'm just going to say that there's a lot of lying that happens. So it's almost like when people say that they're professional blackjack players. Well, mathematically, you can't always win at blackjack. You can't win the majority of the time at blackjack, even if you play it as well as you possibly can. But what will happen is people will tell you about the times where they make money, but they don't tell you about the times where they lost money. They bury their losses and they market their gains. So somebody will say, I bought this asset for $10. Now it's worth $1,000, but they don't tell you about the things they bought for $1,000 that are now worth 10. So I would be really careful. I think Forex could be cool. I just don't know if I would lean my life on Forex though. I'm enrolling in your program as we speak. Oh, thank you, Angela. I look forward to having you in class. And if you have any issues or any questions whatsoever, just email support@theblackbusinessschool.com. That's support@theblackbusinessschool.com. We have a great support team. They are there, always willing to help you. I make my kids pay for what they want. Of course, I'll help sometimes, but overall, they have to foot their own bills. Good. I like that, Erica. I'm a big believer in responsibility, Erica. So in our household, my mom used to make me pay rent. And Alicia thinks that's child abuse. But I don't know. I didn't like it. I thought it was child abuse too when I was doing it. But in hindsight, it made me more responsible. I became a much more empowered person because I was forced to solve problems and take responsibility at an early age. So I tend to be a big believer in that. And that helped me avoid a lot of problems. Like I didn't have like some stage in life where I did a bunch of really stupid stuff and got myself put in jail and, whatever, like, and shot and went to prison, like none of that stuff. Didn't have a bunch of babies with a bunch of women because I knew every choice I made, like there's a difference between investing with your own money versus investing with somebody else's money, or playing with your money versus playing with the house's money. So what I mean by that is, when I was making decisions, I knew that I was going to get the benefits or the consequences of those decisions. I didn't have the benefit of my friends who knew that they could go out and do crazy things and their parents would bail them out. And what it did was it made me more careful, made me a little bit smarter about choices I made. And it worked out, it really did. There's nothing wrong with that. So I'm a believer in responsibility. It also made me more empowered. I didn't feel, I never really felt like a white man can decide how successful I'm going to be. Like that's a foreign concept to me. And I don't believe that it benefits you to just submit to white supremacy and submit to this idea that they're going to control your outcomes. I think it's, even if you don't have control over your outcomes, it just feels better for you to believe that something that you do is going to make a difference, because that's how you get motivation. Motivation theory actually says that if you don't believe something's going to work, if you don't have confidence and faith that what you're doing is going to pay off, then you won't do it. You won't do it. Why would you waste time doing something that isn't going to work? So a great way for me to get, if someone's trying to really oppress you, the easiest way to oppress an animal or a group of people is to convince them that what they're doing isn't going to work, right? Because the minute they see evidence that what they're doing is working, they're going to do more of it. That's why they don't want, if they're, think about this, when you study like how they oppress groups of people, if they see a leader step up with confidence and he goes and he wins a big battle, they get worried because he inspires everyone else. Everyone else says, whoa, wait a minute, you mean fighting back actually works, right? So they don't want you inspired. That's why they'll kill the leader as quick as possible. And more importantly, they'll kill your spirit as quick as possible. So if someone wants to oppress you, I'm just going to tell you what they do. They will convince you that what you do isn't going to make a difference and that all you can do is hand the keys over to them and hope that your gods are going to take good care of you, that the oppressor is the God, and that they're going to, if you vote for me, or if you give me your money, or if you let me educate you, I'm your best hope. Without me, you're nothing. And if that's not white supremacy in a nutshell, I don't know what is. And also white supremacy links to a lot of depression that Black people feel. And it is all connected to economics as well. And because I saw this study once where they actually had some rats in an oppressed environment. They were locked in this cage. And some of the rats, they would give them these electric shocks. And what they found was that for the rats that had an outlet, one group of rats that they gave an actual solution where they could actually hit a button and make the shock stop. That group of rats was far less likely to be depressed than the other group. The other group of rats, they gave them no solution. They gave them no option. All they could do is sit there and hope that they're not going to get shocked that day. So when they measured the serotonin in their brain, the serotonin measures how depressed you are. The rats that didn't have a solution, the rats that felt unempowered, were very depressed. The rats that felt empowered, like, okay, I can fix this, I can make this, I can get out of this situation, those rats didn't have nearly as high of a likelihood of depression. So a lot of Black depression is connected directly to hopelessness. And hopelessness is the cousin of helplessness. And helplessness / the victim mentality is taught to you at a very early age. And that's something I just really generally reject. I want you to just say, okay, even if I've only got a toothpick and a piece of paper, I'm going to do whatever I can with this toothpick and piece of paper, because at least I've got some hope there. If you've got hope, then you're going to try harder than a person who has no hope at all. So a lot of the people that you see that are depressed, that aren't trying, that are, 35-year-old men sitting in their mama's basement in their drawers playing Xbox every day with 3 babies mamas, that what you're seeing are the symptoms of hopelessness, sadness, and depression that creates that helplessness and this victim mentality. So don't embrace that at all, because I don't think it benefits you to think that way on any level. So anyway, I'm going to go, guys. Thanks for listening. It was fun talking to you. I hope this conversation was helpful to you. If you want to go take a look at the options class, feel free to go to blackoptionsinvesting.com. That's blackoptionsinvesting.com. Also, if you want to look at our program for kids, you can go to blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. That's blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. And then, of course, there's the masterclass on the 15th with Dr. Claude Anderson. That's Powernomicsmasterclass.com. That's Powernomicsmasterclass.com. If somebody could type those URLs in so other people can see them, I would appreciate it. I'm going to go spend time with Alicia. Thank you guys for listening. And I apologize if I sound a little bit strange. I'm still doing that dental health thing. In case you're wondering, they had to do stuff where they had to expand my bite because my bite had kind of collapsed a little bit. So that's why it's a little tough for me to talk, because they had to put stuff in there that's going to open me up. But guess what? By the time they're done, I'm going to have a smile like Denzel Washington. See my smile? Look at that. See, tell me that's not a winning smile. It's not even done yet. We're still under construction. Tell me I don't have a winning smile. Anyway, I'm out of here. I'm being silly. Oh, and the other cool thing is that I've been on a liquid diet and I've lost 9 pounds. So I got a smile like Denzel, and I'm going to have a body like, I don't know. Y'all pick somebody. Idris Elba. There we go. So, so I will be your sexy, handsome black man in about 6 weeks. So anyway, take care, guys. Love you. Thank you for listening, and have a good day. I'll see you. There you go. There you go. Eddie Murphy smile. Yeah, Charlie Murphy. He had that big smile. There you go. I might be Charlie Murphy. All right, guys. I'll talk to you soon.